Trackballs. Love them or hate them, they've been a very long-standing piece of technology used with pros and consumers alike. But the question is, why has it stood the test of time for so long? And most importantly, does it suck? Let's talk about it.
I can tell you my problems, meditating my silence. But I keep pushing my pen, rotating my stylus.
Hello and welcome back to another video. And today we're going to be talking about trackballs and why they might actually be a lot better than what people remember them as. That is, if you actually remember having a trackball at all, and if you don't, well, I mean, I'm only 22 years old. I didn't think I was this old this fast. God damn. First, much better. It is flannel season after all. We're going to be covering these topics revolving around the trackball mouse along with our two big questions. And before I begin, make sure to leave a like, comment, follow, and subscribe for more very tasty content. So I guess in order to really dive into if the trackball is good or not, we're first going to have to go over what a trackball is. It's a design that's very similar to how a mouse works, where you take a sensor that is moved over a surface, and that surface movement tracks and is inputted as movement with your mouse pointer. Except in this case, instead of moving the sensor over a surface, you're moving the surface over the sensor. Hence the reason it's called a trackball. By taking and moving the ball across the smooth surface on top of the sensor, it's able to track it as movement of the mouse pointers. In other words, it's basically an inverted upside down mouse. And there are two distinct versions of the modern day trackball. The first is called the thumb trackball. This is usually a mouse that looks very familiar to one that most people would use, except it has a small to medium sized trackball along the left side of the mouse, which is controlled and operated primarily with the thumb. And the second type would be the finger trackball, which takes a more slim and flat design in most cases, where the ball is the main highlight, allowing you to use any of the fingers on your hand as well as your thumb in order to operate. We're going to be talking about the finger trackball, as I feel that it's the superior of trackballs. And also, I mean, just look at, I don't know which side it's going to be on, but just look at this trackball with the thumb. It's weird. It's like if you're gonna go the weird way and get a trackball, you might as well just, go all the way instead of like getting like 10%, and you're like, whoa, that's way too much.
I can't take it, I don't want to look weird in front of my friends.
But it's like, now your mouse looks like it has a giant wart on its face.
Gross. Biases aside, I still think the trackball mouse as a whole is the better option for a lot of use cases compared to a regular mouse. And here are the reasons that I found. For one, it takes up very little space on your desk. Like I said earlier, it takes the surface and moves it across the sensor rather than moving the sensor across the surface. So while it might inherently look like it's a bigger device compared to its regular mouse-shaped brethren, you don't actually need to have any additional desk space in order to operate the mouse such as normal, which can be great for multi-desk or ultra-wide setups where you have to take a large portion of your desk and keep it clean at all times so you have space to move your mouse. Double that importance for people who travel a lot and already have very little space, whether it be on an airplane, a hotel desk, or at a coffee shop. Reason numero dos. It's highly ergonomic and therefore helps prevent RSI. RSI, also known as repetitive strain injuries, are some of the common types of injuries that people get by doing repeated movements such as swiping and moving their wrist in order to move their mouse. The same can also apply due to different positions that you have your hands in when it comes to using a keyboard, but by causing those RSIs, it could lead to more serious injuries. A prime example of this being carpal tunnel syndrome. With little to no wrist movement that's needed in order to move the mouse around with a trackball, it can help to significantly lower RSIs in the wrist. As far as the fingers are concerned, a lot of the times you can actually simply move the entire hand and arm in order to lower. The one and only con that I would have to give as far as ergonomics are concerned, and this is primarily for the finger trackball, is due to its more flat design. Even with a wrist rest, you're likely to suffer from potential forearm RSI due to a result of pronation from having your arm flat on a surface. But this can also occur very easily for keyboards as well, so in my personal experience, I haven't had any problems with that, and it comes more down to anecdotal evidence as far as how much forearm strain there could be in regards to using a trackball mouse. But when compared to a mouse, it's night and day. Reason number 3, which could be a small or big one depending on who you are, but for the finger trackball mouses, they're ambidextrous, usually having the ball in the center with or without a really nice grill. 9 times out of 10, the design for finger trackball mouses are very symmetrical, meaning that you can be able to utilize it with either your left or right hand, which, again, not necessarily a big deal for me, but for someone who might be more left-handed when they use a computer, or just simply has to use their left hand due to the amount of space or where they have things positioned, it could really be a game changer. Number 4, they are highly durable. Now, this one's more of an anecdote on my part because, well, they're using the same relative mechanism of surface over a sensor, so it's easy to say that something could get stuck in between the ball and the sensor just as easily as something could get stuck between the desk and the sensor using a regular mouse. But I do want to show you this. This right here was the very first trackball mouse I had ever used, ever. And this goes back, man, I want to say this was at the very start of high school, if not, I think it was the very start of high school when I had this, and it was in my first ever TV production class. So it was just a whole new world, and it was incredible, and it still runs flawlessly now. I stole this for those of you who are wondering. Thank you very much. Leave me alone now. Statute of limitation, police can't touch me. This thing has stood the test of time and is not used anymore, but it still functions perfectly fine. The reason why I put it away is because I actually upgraded to the Kensington Orbit wireless. It's the exact same, but it's Bluetooth and it has wrist rest, which means it's better in every way, shape, and form. But it's not just my story aside. There are plenty of stories that you can find online about old trackball mouses that have just been, they refuse to die. And I think it comes down to the inherent design. Because of the fact that you don't have it rubbing across the surface of a desk, it usually contracts a lot less dirt and grime in between the sensor and the actual surface, as well as not having to deal with some of the smaller issues that can happen, such as wires bending over time, fraying, and even breaking due to the result of having to move and stretch it back and forth. You also have the friction of the glider pads over time. It's just a more simplistic package. The more simple it is, the easier it is for it to last. And number 5, you have much more precise movements. Citation needed. Let me explain. While there is a slight learning curve at the beginning of using a trackball mouse, you'll find very quickly that you're able to make more precise movements due to the fact that you're using your fingertips rather than your entire wrist and hand in making a movement. Which means if you need to do a precise type of movement or a very small adjustment, say in color correction, video editing, or photography, you'll find that this trackball is a dream to use and are actually implemented in more professional machines and devices such as color panels, which are very, very, very expensive. One caveat to this, which is where the citation comes in, is in the realm of gaming. Now, I know that there are gaming trackball mice that exist for some reason, and this might just be anecdotal, but putting my experience to the test as a pro tier MLG gamer, I found that even with a couple of hours of effort, it was still not necessarily as quick, or perhaps the muscle memory wasn't to the right level yet, but it was a lot more, I don't even know how to explain it. It just wasn't as good as using a regular mouse. And maybe it's down to the fact that when it comes to pointing and aiming, using your wrist and arm is more familiar to us compared to just using a finger, because the same rules kind of apply when you're, aiming with a rifle and firing. You generally point your body and aim your arm in the position of where the your target is. That way you can get sights a lot quicker and generally can hit your shot. Perhaps it's similar to that. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I just suck at gaming just like how I suck at life. It is what it is. All that sweet talking aside, what are some of the negative aspects of having a trackball and mouse? Well, there aren't many, but aren't many is still more than zero. So for one, you're going to have to deal with the fact that there is a learning curve when it comes to using a trackball and mouse. It's a very small learning curve. For me, it was under 30 minutes that I was able to get it pretty well, but that is something you are expected to know coming into it at the very beginning. And it sucks for like a minute maybe. And then you're kind of like, oh, well, now I kind of got the general gist of it and I'm good to go. That exists. The second con is there aren't a lot of buttons generally on finger trackball mice in particular. While on a regular mouse, you're going to have your left to right click button, middle mouse button, and some type of buttons along the side for multifunctional uses or macros. In general, you're only going to have about 3 or 2 buttons in the case of my finger pad mouse, which is just a left and right click. Now, you do get a really nice scroll wheel depending on the type of mouse that you get, which will allow you to scroll up and down the page a lot easier, in my personal opinion, compared to using a scroll wheel on a mouse, but that is something to take in note. And finally, they are not that great for gaming. Like I said before, it might just be the inherent nature of when you point your arm at a target, it's easier to aim in your mind, but trying to use a trackball it's not a good time when it comes to gaming, especially if you're a fan of FPS shooters. Now, there are trackball gaming mice that exist, but I don't know if I'd be willing to put my money on the line for that one if I'm gonna be 100% honest with you guys. I think I'm just gonna stick with my mouse for that one, or perhaps just use mental thought alone and hope for the best. So to sum everything up, we've talked about a trackball mouse, what it is and how it works, the 2 main types that exist in the modern day of age, some of the pros, some of the cons, and now we get to the golden question. Why is it still being used in the modern day and age, especially in more professional settings? And most importantly, does it suck? Well, I think for the first question, it's kind of self-explanatory. When you're in a professional setting with a lot of machines, panels, and different tools that you're using, space is very important because space is time and time is money. Space time. But really, it just comes down to a matter of space. You can't beat physics. The more things you can do in a smaller space, the better, because that means you have extra room set aside that you can use to do even more things and be more productive, which does make more money by saving you time and space. And trackballs just happen to be the way to go.
But Craig,
I hear you asking.
Does it suck though for me?
I'm gonna have to say no, it doesn't suck. In fact, I think the trackball mouse is better than a regular mouse in a lot of situations because of all the pros that I said. And weighing the cons, ultimately, unless you are a gamer, it's not really going to affect you that much. So I would say give a trackball mouse a try and see how you like it. Most stores have return policies anyway, so I mean, why not? Give a trackball mouse a try. A good one, not a garbage one. Just like with regular mice, if you get cheap trackballs, they're going to suck. But if you put a little bit of money towards a decent one, you're going to have a great time. And I'm not just saying that to say that. I actually put my money where my mouth is. And for the past, I want to say almost 5 months now, I've been using this Kensington Trackball Orbit. You've probably seen it in a couple of my other Come Edit With Me videos where it's kind of a mouse that I'm using in the video. And it is a successor to this bad boy here. They are literally the same. The only difference is this one's red, this one's blue, and this one's wireless with a wrist rest, while this one's wired and sad and old, but still really good. If you guys would like to, I can do a more in-depth review on this particular trackball, but out of all the ones that I've tried before, I think this one hands down is the literal best that you can go with. Best bang for buck with everything that you get. So let me know if you guys are interested in that. Let me know what you guys think about this video and comment down below. Would you be willing to use a trackball? I'm very curious to see what the response to that is going to be. And with that, thank you guys for watching this video. Let me know how you like the new setup, how everything looks, how you like this style, and most importantly, make sure you have a great rest of your day. Over here on, I don't know which side it's gonna be on because YouTube is wacky like that, but over on this side, you should be able to see my latest video. Go ahead and give that a look. I'm pretty sure it looks really awesome. And then on this other side, you see my subscribe icon face thing over here. Ooh, crazy YouTube magic, wow. And yeah, I don't have an outro here, sorry.